Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the TechEd session to get an overview of SAP S/4HANA Cloud Extensibility. My name is Michael Habermueller. I worked 14 years for SAP, nearly 12 years in consulting, and now for 2 years I'm a product manager for SAP S/4HANA Cloud cross topics, and there I mainly deal with S/4HANA Cloud Extensibility and integration. The session will be done by me and my colleague Felix Wente. So please, Felix, introduce yourself.
Thank you, Michael. My name is Felix Wente. I work as a Chief Development Architect within the Central Architecture team of S/4HANA, and I mainly deal with all the questions around extensibility of customers and partners, and I'm glad to present the newest deliverables we have to you today with Michael.
Okay, thank you, Felix. So the agenda for this session is as follows. First, I do start to give the motivation and the background about extensibility, so why we are dealing with it. And then Felix will take over to give you an introduction about the 3 pillars of extensibility concepts we do have for SAP S/4HANA Cloud, which are key user extensibility, side-by-side extensibility, and the new upcoming option, developer extensibility. So let's start with extensibility motivation and background. Intelligent enterprises do best run business. So how do they do it? How's the architecture SAP has in mind, how this can be achieved? So at the top, they have in mind that enterprises to interact with each other, and to do this, we provide our business network. Quite new in this evolved division is the business process intelligence layer. So this enables the customer to analyze their current processes, to get hints of what can be optimized, and in addition, that is a very interesting fact, maybe to play around with potentially adapted business processes or new processes. So what does this mean when they include this into their daily business? What is SAP, of course, their minds are then our base solution, so which is the intelligent suite and the industry cloud solutions we do offer. And from a technology perspective, so we have one integration platform, which is a business technology platform. So with this said, it will definitely be the case that SAP has foreseen a lot of business processes, has foreseen a lot of content, but it will never be enough. These things needs to be adapted. So the one motivation is that the customer needs extensibility in this environment to adopt their certain requirements to the needs of their special business. So this is the way how they distinguish from their competitors. The second thing is, okay, there will definitely often be the case that that some certain scope is missing, an industry solution for language, or just a certain functionality. And this is a second motivation for extensibility. Why in this architecture extensibility is definitely necessary. Then the third one is so to extend the reach of your solution, that you want to give suppliers not the access to your intelligent suite system, but just to certain functionality. So and then you may decide to develop an application on the business technology platform and just integrate them via APIs into the intelligent suite. So this is the third motivation for extensibility. And the fourth one, of course, comes really more in mind that you really do innovations on your business processes with machine learning and with IoT scenarios, artificial intelligence, and things like that. Coming back to extensibility. So this is just an overview how to really sharpen up how ERP extensibility is done today. You have your SAP Business Suite system, which is running on top of the SAP NetWeaver, and you open your SE80 or your ABAP development tools, and you do their freestyle custom ABAP coding. And you are allowed there, more or less, to use all existing SAP objects there. That might be an access to a table, that might be access to a function model, a BAPI, to a certain class. You're free to use everything. And in addition, you are even allowed to modify existing SAP objects. The pro of this is that this is really, really flexible and powerful. New industry solutions could be developed now. You can do everything you want. It was a pillar of the great success of SAP software in the past. The downside of is that there is just no standard interface now, so between the SAP code and extensions, and that has led to enormous test and adaptation efforts when it comes to switch from one release to another. And this big companies now are planning and doing these upgrade efforts maybe for a year, 4 months, something like that. And this is something which is not acceptable for cloud system. So we definitely do need agility and innovation speed. But and with that said, this downside, I will hand over to Felix to introduce the concepts of extensibility in our cloud world.
Thank you, Michael. So in the end, yeah, as you could imagine, we need a kind of trade-off to have, on the one hand side, the full flexibility or the needed flexibility, and on the other hand side, stability, so that extensions can be run in the cloud. So for this purpose, as shown in the agenda, we have different flavors of extensibility, and I'm going to introduce them to you. The two existing ones, key user extensibility and side-by-side extensibility, and in addition, a new one, which is going to come in the next year. So the main differentiator between from technical perspective is that you have in-app extensibility, which you could do on the stack where the SAP software runs, or you could do a side-by-side extensibility on a separate platform, being connected to the extended software. So here I would like to start with the in-app extensibility. We have in-app key user extensibility, which is a tool for key users which are non-technical experts, but who are business experts, and they know the needs of their business, and they should be enabled to adapt the software. So also you could call it low-code, no-code tools, or citizen developer. There are different terms for these kind of tools. And basically, we do have some of them. First, I would like to start with the key user extensibility for custom fields. So on the left-hand side, you see a simplified stack of SAP S/4HANA with our platform on a database underneath, and the different applications from SAP S/4HANA on top. And directly integrated into that one, we have the key user extensibility, custom fields. And from there, it's possible to navigate into a very simple dialog for field extensibility. And it allows you to create and maintain custom fields to be used in the application, and which enhance the application. It's a very simple thing. You simply can define custom fields like you can do it in Excel. You just specify the data type, a tooltip, and a label. You can give also information about the length. You can have information and specify information about values. Value lists can be created or shared across extensions. All that is possible. Well, in the end, not everyone can do these extensions. You need to have the specific role of being a key user. So it's not a question whether you feel like a key user to use it, but you have a dedicated role. And if you have this role, you can do extensibility across the complete systems for all applications and for all users. Besides custom fields, you also have other tools. Very important, of course, is UI adaptation. You would like to bring custom fields to the UI in many cases. Also, you would like to bring standard fields on the UI which are not existing there yet, or hide fields, move them around, relabel them. All that is possible modification-free with the UI adaptation mode. Also, you have a custom logic theory app, which allows you in a very simple way with a reduced ABAP language set to implement code exits, so-called cloud bodies. These which are technically bodies, but released for the cloud for stability. And there you can utilize those bodies to do some business logic extensibility, like checking values or like mapping values to other entities, to influence processes, to do calculations, whatever you like, you can do there. Then we have custom business objects, which is a Fiori app to create custom own applications, mini applications, not really full-fledged big applications that should be done side by side on BTP, but very small applications being meant to carry analytical facts, for example, or check values, things like that. Then it's possible to build custom CDS views on top of released SAP CDS views, joining different data sources together and expose them as data. And last but not least, you can define your own reports and queries based on top of released SAP CDS views for analytical purposes. These are the main key user tools, giving you, for the most important patterns of extensibility, a lot of flexibility in a safe way, in a cloud-like way, without the need of having technical or too deep technical expertise. It looks different if we come to the side-by-side extensibility, the right-hand side of the picture. We have already seen there we have the BTP, a platform as a service from SAP, which can be remotely coupled to almost all our products, and a platform which has different stacks, for example, ABAP, Java, Node.js, and others. And it's a perfect platform to build extensions and custom or partner applications. Here we now see it a little bit more in detail. On the left-hand side, some of SAP products. They are being connected with the connectivity layer against BTP, a connectivity layer which takes care of user sharing, authorization sharing, connecting with APIs, consuming events, and so on. And I just take out one of the stacks. It's the ABAP stack, which follows the ABAP RESTful Application Programming Model, also called RAP. And this is a quite suitable approach to extend ABAP applications. So this is how it looks like from architecture perspective. You're remotely coupled via remote APIs, via remote events, and it's a similar stack in the end than S/4HANA is built upon. It's the same ABAP platform underneath, the same ABAP language, the same HANA database, but separated. It's your platform, the customer platform, the partner platform. And on top, you can have custom code, partner extensions, and can connect against S/4HANA and other products from SAP, and remotely can control. You can consume data, you can replicate data, you can trigger process steps, and so on. You can build your own UIs on top, and basically it's a really good platform in case you're loosely coupled to build your own applications being connected against SAP, which allow you to, as Michael said, reach other user groups, for example, third-party workers or third-party customers, whatsoever, which you would not let in your own system landscape, but which should be enabled with cloud applications to do their job for your company. Now, the situation is the following. If you look at the pros and cons of these two approaches, we can say, yes, we have a clear interface between SAP code and custom code, partner code in both cases. So we have reached a cloud-ready, upgrade-stable extensibility with some buts or some cons. So the key user extensibility as a low-code, no-code extensibility does not have the full flexibility and the full power a developer might need to build more complex extensions. On the right-hand side, we do have a platform as a service with all the stacks which are relevant on the market, but it's remotely coupled. So in case you need to be part of the game, you would like to extend within the processes, within the transactions, or you would like to have a full HANA access with the full speed power, it might become complicated. So it will not serve for all use cases where you need a tightly coupling. So for that reason, we have thought about a third option, developer extensibility in-app flavor, directly in the stack of S/4HANA. And we thought of, as we have the very same ABAP stack basically on BTP, why not bring that approach that we have side by side back into S/4HANA. So we embed it again. So there is the project name Embedded Steampunk, to just mention that we bring back this approach we have run side by side in addition into the stack of SAP S/4HANA. We call it SAP S/4HANA Cloud Extensibility or in-app developer extensibility, as you now operate directly within the stack, but with the full power of developer tools. I would like to introduce it now a little bit more in detail so that you can see the pros of this new approach and what you can do with it. Let's start again with the simplified stack of S/4HANA, which now combines the key user extensibility and the new custom ABAP development for developers as in-app extensibility possibility for S/4HANA. It's based on a modern ABAP development. It means that SAP customers, partners, they use the same development model. This development model is the same that we use to build our software. It gives a high developer productivity. It utilizes the ABAP RESTful application programming model, also called RAP, which is directly optimized for HANA database and allows you the development of modern applications and services with a high efficiency. And it's Eclipse-based, basically, so you have a quite handy development IDE, and there is no need to have a direct backend access, which also is not possible or not advisable for cloud solutions. You still have the full power of Fiori tools that you can use to build your own UIs on top of your extensions and applications, as well as you can extend SAP UIs with it. There is a proven lifecycle management with it, so you have your own lifecycle management. There's a three-system landscape of development, quality, and productive systems, so that you can develop and test your software, your own extensions carefully before you let them go live. Maybe some rules of the game that should be mentioned. I mentioned we have a clear separation between SAP solutions and extensions, and thus we can only allow reliable and stable public interfaces which are actively released by SAP. It means, like in the past, you could consume or extend everything everywhere. This is not possible, so we have contracts, extensibility contracts, to use objects or extend objects, and only those objects which have been foreseen for either key user extensibility or developer extensibility can be used or extended. So with that, you have a very high stability, which is so high that we can operate it in the cloud. And this means, of course, there is no way to modify the software any longer as you did in the past. The side effects of that cannot be foreseen and are not cloud-like. This is how it looks like. You have ABAP in Eclipse, also called ADT. We have here one example screenshot. You see on the left-hand side a stack of objects which you could operate on. And basically, what is possible, you can see the complete code of SAP S/4HANA software. Even you can debug the complete code. So still, you are very efficient with error analysis. But as said, you cannot use everything, so you cannot directly use SAP database tables or only released CDS views or consume other released APIs. And for that purpose, that you can discover them, we have a tree or list objects in Eclipse, which gives you an overview about different types of objects within their software hierarchy, component hierarchy. These are mainly authorization objects, RAP objects, CDS views, function modules, any kind of data structures, and so on. These are the objects you can make use of to build your own applications or to extend SAP applications. And also you will find the bodies, the cloud bodies, which are enabled for this tool set here. And then you can, with a specific stable and modernized ABAP language version, you can build your own code. Here an example, you see a behavior definition of a RAP object. That is how it looks like. And now I would like to hand over back to Michael to talk about the future perspective.
Thank you, Felix. I would like to conclude our session is what SAP has a target for this complete extensibility framework is so that with this model of key user extensibility, with side-by-side extensibility with SAP Business Technology Platform, and our in-app developer extensibility with the RESTful application programming, that this will be the extension model both for cloud and for any premise solution. Of course, what we do have in mind there is that there can be a shared code line both for SAP S/4HANA and for SAP S/4HANA Cloud. We feel it's a very good way to make it a standard way to build modern ABAP-based extension, either on SAP BTP, on S/4HANA Cloud, or on S/4HANA on any premise. So this is what we do have in mind here for the future. Last thing I would like to take note, it's a bit off topic, but it's just a reminder. So what is TechEd for? TechEd is especially for learning, and here are some other great learning offerings to complement your conference. I would like to mention that you can prepare for a certification in SAP BTP with 3 SAP learning journeys and live learning sessions live sessions led by SAP experts. Save some money with an exclusive SAP TechEd certification offer that comes with your TechEd registration mail. Please follow the learning recommendation for selected sessions and to continue up your skill building, and just utilize the network of the moderated SAP learning group to get your learning question answered. So central point of to come in here that you find all this great content below learning.sap.com/TechEd. With that said, I would like to thank you for listening. We hope you find it very interesting and you do further experience with it. Thank you very much and hope to see you soon.
Thank you for your participation from my side as well. I hope you enjoyed this session and I wish you a great day. Bye.